You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another very special episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kelvin, and with me today are Amy and Christos. Hello.
Hello.
It's been so long.
Time no see.
How are you both?
What, 2
You're
days?
listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Okay.
So there's the first test, and everyone may notice that we are coming to you live this week. So that would have been edited out, wouldn't it? So yeah, 2 days since we were all together in the flesh. However, I'm going to just say Friday and Saturday for me was just like one long, ridiculous day. So with all the traveling and then the moving forward in time to my traditional 8 hours in front of you. So it feels like I saw you guys yesterday. So I'm going for that. So it's absolutely thrilling to see you both again. And it's really aiding my cruise come down by having you back so soon.
I give you a lot of credit.
Yeah. It's very difficult. Excuse me. It's very difficult to know that you are now way far away from me when just, I was used to giving you a hug every single day.
Oh,
It's hard. And I was used to slapping Christos as well when he said something out of turn. I won't be able to do that now, will I?
I know. Come on, Patsy.
Okay, so as we mentioned, this is a very special episode today. We've catapulted ourselves in the order of the queue of our shows because we want to recap and discuss and reflect on Star Trek The Cruise that all three of us have just returned from. So without further ado, thank you, Amy. We've got a few little signpost slides just to kind of highlight our discussion for the days. And it was a very special week that we've just had. So, Amy, for anyone who's never experienced the cruise, how would you best describe it?
I have been known to say that it is like entering the Nexus. This is where we get, as Guinan says, joy just wrapped around you. It is all of your Star Trek family and so many more that you haven't even met, but you have that commonality. You have that idic. You know that they love Star Trek and you love Star Trek. So there's already something in common. So you can go up and talk to anyone. And it really is surprising how many new people we bring into our family. Because I'm like, we have the best people, but there are still so amazing people out there that we just need to connect with. So I would call the cruise the Nexus.
I think that's a fantastic description. And yes, one I've very much heard before. Christos, was this your second cruise that you'd been on? Your second Star Trek?
Yep. Number 2. And I can tell you I'm already signed up for number 3. I wanted to add to what Amy said there. One thing I've noticed about the Star Trek cruise, it's a place where introverts become extroverts because they are so comfortable and safe in where they are.
Is that not because of the drinks package?
Well, that helps. I can't. I mean, there are so many people that just tell me I don't make friends like this fast. I don't do that, and it's amazing what happens when people are in a space where they feel completely safe and welcome to be themselves.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the logistics of what we've just experienced for those who are watching or listening, who are considering maybe going on the cruise in the future, this is a chartered cruise from Royal Caribbean, and ECP Cruises basically purchased every single room on the ship and then resold it to us, the fans. And with that, They got so much control over kind of set dressing, redesign of all of the restaurants, the bars, to completely trek the halls with all of our beloved franchise. And there is just no escape from it. And the level of detail it's just joyous. So it is such an immersive experience. It really is. There's not a single person on board who isn't a Star Trek fan. Maybe the staff, maybe they are at the end. I don't know. Maybe they hate Star Trek now after a week of it. So I thought it might be nice just to kind of stroll through the days a little bit. It's a 7-day vacation for us all. So shall we start with day one, embarkation? Oh, damn, I've noticed an error in my slides there. I've missed off the N. I think I've overwrapped that lovely picture of you and Amy there, Christos, but never mind. Day one, embarkation. So a week last Friday, we set sail. We got on board. I suppose really you could argue we had a day zero, didn't we? We had arrival day in LA. For those of us who are not only an hour away, Christos, I'm very, very jealous about that fact. Most of us arrived on Thursday, stayed in one of the partner hotels. I was fortunate enough to stay with some of our friends in the Airbnb locally, but there was a party at the Crowne Plaza in LA. And that was kind of everyone getting together, saying hello. Oh, we've not seen you in a year. And it was just a lovely head start. I suppose we should say a special shout out to our good friend Ria, who made the trip all the way over to the party at the Crowne Plaza just to see us. And then poor bless her had to walk away from it because even coming on the cruise.
I cannot believe she had the strength to not, join us on the cruise, man. It was so good to see her. I think the last one to arrive. I had to work Thursday, so then flew in. But thankfully, you were still all there at the bar. Because where else would you be?
Where else? Exactly.
Fabulous. So, Christos, tell us a little bit about your experience with the getting on the ship in the morning.
Oh, well, if many recall, it was very, very cold and raining as that big 100-year storm was hitting California. And it was so hard for me to defend California, by the way, because everyone was complaining, why is this cruise going out of Long Beach and not Florida, and this weather is awful. I'm like, it was very, very, very much a anomaly type weather event. In fact, this whole winter in California has been cold and rainy, which is very not normal. But yeah, so many of us got wet and many of us were in the cold, but I think Amy and Christian and I boarded together and we were huddling for warmth under a canopy. But, from the time we all drove over in my car and parked the car and just walked to the terminal. And from the time we parked the car to the time we were through everything and on the ship, it was 40 minutes. And once we were on the ship, all of that was forgotten and it was game on. And it was warm up and find a drink.
Absolutely. I do recall in comparison to last year, the embarkation process did seem, weather aside, a lot more smoother. There wasn't as much waiting around in halls, waiting for group numbers. We just walked on. A very excellent staff at the dock, very pleasant, very friendly. They even had your little welcome photograph as you was walking in. So you get on the ship. We all immediately headed to the promenade, which is the main kind of collective. Well, think of the promenade on DS9. It's that. It's located on deck 5, so it's midship, and that's where the majority of the bars and restaurants are located. So we all headed to what was last year's TNG bar because it was a favorite. However, this year it had been decorated as a DS9 themed bar and called the Niners, based around the Holosuite episode. So that's where we all kind of met. And then you've got a little bit of a wait, haven't we? Because you don't have your cases yet. You don't have your room keys. So you're just kind of there with your hand luggage to start off with. And yes, where you're allowed to start drinking, start mixing. But we didn't have long to wait this year for our keys at all. I think we had them by, was it 1 p.m.?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful. So then most people headed over to their rooms. Amy, tell us about your room. What are the rooms like on a cruise ship?
Well, I had the interior room. Previous cruises, I've had the balcony, which I really did enjoy. And I did miss not having the balcony. But the rooms, the beds can either slide together or separate. I was bunking with someone. I felt like it was just the same old. Everything's cramped and squishy, but you're not spending time in the room. You have wonderful staff helping you out, and they always greet you and say hello. The staff are great on the cruise.
Yeah, there's so many different rooms going from an interior room. An interior room basically means there's no windows. So when you turn the light off, it's pitch black, which is great if you have trouble sleeping and you just get the rock of the ship lulling you to sleep. I had an interior room this year. But we wanted, my partner James and I, we wanted the rooms that are interior, but have a window looking down onto the promenade. So our deck 6 was above the promenade. Really annoying. I expect deck 1 to be at the top and deck 14 to be at the bottom, a bit like a starship. But you get on at deck 1 at the bottom of the ship, and deck 14 is the top where the bridge would be. So that's something you have to get used to, the order of the decks in the wrong order. But some of the rooms are suites with multiple bedrooms, balconies, and they go for so much money. But there really is something for every budget, I feel, on this cruise. And I would strongly advise just go for one of the cheaper cabins, because as you've just said, Amy, you don't spend a lot of time in the room other than to change and to sleep. So you don't want this luxury accommodation that you are just going to not use. Okay, so day 1. With every day, there is a theme. And day 1's theme had the Gorn's Pajama Party. So the theme of the day is basically centered around what cosplay, the theme of the evening's parties. And they usually start from around 7 p.m. going into the late hours. So day 1 was the Gorn Pajama Party. A couple of little photos here. You can see I opted for the, I guess it's underwear as opposed to pajamas, but it depends how you sleep. So myself and my partner James there, we went for the Trip and Malcolm riser, where they have to strip down to their underwear. There was a couple of other people on the ship who did that cosplay too, so we weren't alone. But a lot of people just went for onesies, pajama bottoms, and some others. Amy, can you remember some of the creative cosplay that we had at the pajama party?
Oh my gosh. No, I can't. I just remember so many people wearing those big squishy slippers, either the Enterprise, or the shuttlecraft slippers, and they're just stomping around. It was so cute. I'm like, man, how do you walk in those things? But yeah, I was a little jealous of the slippers. What about you, Christos?
I do remember I started off in like a Captain Pike uniform because I didn't really plan for pajamas, and I felt it was a little ill-fitting and I felt a little frumpy. So it didn't take me long at all to go back to my cabin and put on a tank top and sleep shorts and get very comfortable. And by that part, I felt like I was blending right in.
Excellent. I suppose one of the only disappointments that we had on day 1 is that we had to kind of forego the traditional sail away party. So on any cruise, whether it's a Star Trek cruise, there's always a sail away when you first leave the port. And on the Star Trek cruise, that's when JT, the cruise director, will welcome us. We're usually all there on the pool deck, and they will bring all of the celebrity guests on one by one, and they all say hello, introduce themselves, and say what a great week we're going to have. And it's something we all really look forward to. But this year they had to, because of the weather that we had in California, incorporate that aspect into the show. So something else to let people know, each night there are events taking place all throughout the day and the evening, throughout the cruise, multiple events, in fact, too many for you to attend. You have to make your decisions over which are your preferred ones. But there's always a main show split into a blue cards and red cards. Blue being the early showing, red being the late showing. So they had the day one show they just called it the welcome show, I seem to believe. And they brought people on. And then there was like a little game show after it. What was it, like a match game or something?
I didn't attend this, so I don't know.
Did you go, Christos?
I did. Well, actually, two things happened. Some of those events that you would normally see happen at the pool deck party, where they introduce all of the stars and whatnot, happened at that evening event. And so there was a little surprise at that event, is that we did not know that Todd Stashwick was on the cruise. He was a very last minute addition. So it was like, oh, it's Captain Shaw. And then, yes, there was a bit of a match game, game that the celebrities partook in. If anyone's watched Snatch Game on RuPaul's Drag Race, it's inspired by Match Game. So I think more people may relate to that in today's day and age. But it was a lot of fun. It's always a kind of game where they give a topic, you try to guess what the celebrities may choose, and your goal is to try to match with them. But it always leads to inappropriate and funny answers, and it's a lot of fun. So I had a lot of fun at that event.
Yeah, the content of the cruise, it's all very adult appropriate, if that's the right way to phrase it. I think I may have seen about 3 children on the cruise, and that was enough. But it's completely adult friendly. It sounds strange to see all of these celebrities to let the hair down, to relax, to say things outside of Star Trek and just be a little bit wild. So some of the language is rather fruity. Some of the sexual innuendos are quite funny as well. But you know what? We love it, and that's what we're there for. The kind of final format of what you get each day as well is your cabin gets serviced multiple times a day by the housekeeping staff. When you return to your cabin, maybe like about 8 p.m. in the evening, early evening, there's a gift that is left on your bed. That sounds strange saying it like that, but basically merchandise as part of the pack. So on day one, the merchandise gift was this huge poster of a lovely piece of art, and I can't give credit to who's made it because I can't remember, but it's basically headshots of all of the actors, characters who are on the cruise that year. And if should you wish, you could take that poster to your autograph sessions and get everyone to sign it, so it's all done. But it's just a lovely piece of art, and I know it gets put on T-shirts and all sorts of things as well. The unfortunate thing is, because it's made in advance, any kind of last-minute changes to the cast can't really get incorporated. So, as you've just said, Christos, Todd Stashwick wasn't on that poster, and he very much stole the show of the cruise. He was such good value. And then, unfortunately, as well, yeah, he was a replacement for John Billingsley, who was unwell the day before. So it was a very last-minute swap out of those 2 celebrities. So that's day one. Any other memories from day one, apart from us all being rather windswept and cold?
It just was so amazing to see everyone in person. You know, we thankfully do have the opportunity. We podcast, and we're constantly communicating. But to have all of your friends and your Trek family there in person is so sweet. And it just, sets the cruise off to great, and just hugging and saying hi, and people that I only see on the cruise. I'm like, oh my gosh, hello. So it really is wonderful. The hellos is the best day about embarkation day.
would agree. I'm actually using my photo stream to actually remind me of what happened almost minute by minute. We take so many pictures on the cruise. It's actually a very good photo documentary of what happened.
Fantastic. So we all retired for the evening, got some sleep, and then we moved on to day 2. So day 2, we'd left California, heading down towards Mexico, and day 2 was what's called an at-sea day. So you're traveling all of the day. I suppose the first thing you have to kind of familiarize yourselves with is what a sea day is like in terms of the movement of the ship. And anyone who's got seasick afflictions, you kind of have to get used to it. Fortunately, I didn't, but I do recall the sea was quite rough this year.
I agree. Like that storm that was hitting California that I mentioned was definitely affecting the waters. It took us a good day and a half to get south to get into better seas and warmer weather. I'm actually sitting here. I'm actually still moving. I don't know if anybody else still is.
Yeah,
but I'm still rocking here in my chair.
Wonderful. Amy, what do you remember about day 2?
Well, I did get a chance to see William Shatner. He did quite a few events, and this man, he is old and he is still coming on the cruises. He did at least 3 shows. So I saw the first one, and he is just sharp, on fire. This is the one where he didn't make any faux pas or,
Offend anyone.
But yeah, offends anyone, pulls a bill. But just so good and interacting with the audience. I really enjoy listening to William Shatner now that he's gone up into space. I feel like his perspective and how he sees the world gives him this, we are nothing. There's something greater. So I really do enjoy his little presentation in the morning. So that was a highlight, and that was good to start the day off.
Wonderful.
I had started the day going to a science and Star Trek with Dr. Aaron McDonald down in the where they call that the Studio B, and it was great. It was about an hour long, and she kind of went through her Star Trek journey as to how she became a science consultant on Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Prodigy, which she's really working hard on. And she took some deep dives into a few episodes and showed some things, and it was just really great to see how they talked a lot about. Felt very good about our podcast, the Science of Discovery season 4 with the DMC and Species 10C. I was just like geeking out like a nerd. It was a really good hour with her.
Fantastic. And then the theme for the evening's party was the Captain's Gala on day 2. Now, again, all cruises, regardless of being a Star Trek cruise or not, tend to have a formal night. It's just one of those things. So Star Trek cruises are just like any other. And that is a night where people either go traditional formal, as you can see in this picture here with some of our lovely friends dressed to the nines, or this is often the night where people get the Star Trek dress uniforms out. So you see a lot of admirals, a lot of dress uniforms, a lot of people just looking really smart. I went down the traditional route. I wore a tuxedo jacket and shirt there. You can see, Amy, you wore that beautiful blue dress. You looked an absolute sensation on this night.
Thank you. It was fun. I love dressing up.
Great. And then the show, if I remember, was Garrett Wang's comedy show, was the main show of the evening on night 2. So the shows usually feature one of the guest actors doing something that usually isn't something Star Trek related. So it might be performance, it might be singing, dancing. Garrett Wang is a self-professed stand-up comedian. So I think he did this show in the last cruise. I didn't happen to go to this show. Did either of you two attend?
Well, he's done this show now 3 times. So I saw it 2 times previously, and so I decided to bow out of this one.
I think I was having too much fun at dinner with Amy to go to the show, and Ensign Kim was never really my favorite, so I did not make it a priority.
Oh dear. So apologies, Gareth, if you're watching. None of us attended your show. And that's the thing about the cruise as well. You've kind of got to make peace with the fact you can't do everything. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. It is so exhausting. You mentioned their dinner with Amy. There are so many different dining options on the ship, but the main dining room always offers your kind of traditional table linen dressed 3-course dinner, and that's what most of us tend to gravitate to as default. And we had some great dinners with sometimes just 3 or 4 of us, other times 20 people. And we usually kind of extend our podcasting conversations to dinner and do round table discussions. So yeah, I mean, evening 1, that was when we had Renee and Vince join us. And yeah, it was just a great start to dinner. So do you have any memories about the food on the ship, Amy, the dinners that we saw? Did you enjoy them?
I actually did. Last year, I really felt that the food was too salty, almost so much that I didn't enjoy it. So this year, I felt it tasted wonderful. I enjoyed everything I've ordered. And I'm one who likes to taste and sample. So I'm like, okay, what are you getting? Okay, you can get that because I like that. So, if you sit by me, just know that's what happens. So I got to sample quite a bit and I really did enjoy the food. And they had a great wine list this time. They had a reserve Merlot that it was so good. So it was good.
Oh, it's making me hungry just thinking about it.
Actually, I was looking at our pictures from that night. The 3 of us sat next to each other at dinner that night. That was Amy's famous Troy Man of the People look night.
Oh, yeah.
But it was really fun doing the questions throughout dinner during the cruise. It was something we started last year, I think. And this year, it just kind of took off like wildfire. Like, we didn't have to ask the questions. People at our table were coming up with their own questions. And it was great to see everyone participating.
It really was. And you learn so much about people as well. They don't always give the obvious answers. Some of them are really deep cuts of characters, episodes, or subjects that have inspired them. And it just really gets the conversation going. So for those people you mentioned earlier, Christos, who are quite introverted and they might come and sit to dinner and then, dominant loudmouths like us take over, we really open it up and give everyone the opportunity to be included and speak. And it's just such a lovely coming together. So what did day 3 bring us? Hooray, dry land. So
Yes.
we've arrived in Mexico. So this was our first port of call in the lovely Cabo San Lucas. And all throughout the cruise at any of the destinations, there's always excursions that are arranged through Royal Caribbean, through ECP, that you purchase on the app, and away you go. You also have what's called artist excursions, which tend to take place on the ship. They're usually on sea days, not port days. And on the official Royal Caribbean excursions, it's not unlikely that you see some of the artists just on the excursions with you, because they may want to go whale watching, they may want to go snorkeling themselves. So you go for the experience and you just end up seeing a celebrity with you. So I think, Christos, you were too tired to attend. You couldn't be bothered attending this. We purchased a deluxe coastal sailing trip going chasing the whales, very Star Trek 4. That was myself, Amy, and you chose not to. Well, did you have other plans on the ship?
Well, it turned into other plans. I was already feeling like after 2 days and being up and not getting enough sleep, I was like, okay, I need to like dial back, take a rest day if I'm going to continue on and not burn myself out. So I forfeited my excursion ticket, and Alex Rosales and I got a cabana up at the pool deck because by then we were finally into nice weather, and we put on our caftans and just spent a lovely afternoon at the pool and got a little bit of sun, and it was a good little like rest and recover and prepare for more kind of day for me. So I have no regrets, although I know I've seen the pictures. You guys look like you had a great time on your excursion.
We did. Amy, why don't you tell us or remind us a little bit what we did on the excursion?
Yeah, so we took a Tinder in, and then we had 45 minutes, something like that. And so we walked around, and then of course seeing all of our Trek family walking around as well. And Ryan had someone place this iguana on his shoulder, and take pictures and stuff. And he sort of got freaked out. Stephen was able to purchase a hat. I lost my nose piercing, so I needed to get something. So I was walking around asking everyone, and I did find something acceptable. And then when we got on to the boat, they were giving us drinks, and when we got out there, we saw the whale with the blowhole and the poof coming out, and then we saw them come up and over, and there was a pair, and so we're like, oh, of course, whale watching. What are their names?
George and Gracie.
Thank you. Yeah, so we were all calling them George and Gracie because there were a pair of whales there, and they were blue whales.
Yeah, well, no, there was some humpback whales. There was also blue whales and grey whales as well. So there was a selection. It was key season, apparently. We had a great tour guide on the catamaran that we went out, and he was showing us all of the lovely areas of Cabo, including the very famous arch rock formation that has naturally appeared with all of the kind of water erosion. And then there's the Lovers Beach and was there like Divorce Beach?
Divorce Beach, yes.
I don't know. I think I might have had one too many margaritas by that point to remember the official narration. But yeah, it was a lovely day out. And then into the evening, we had the Knights of the Holodeck party. We had the Rat Pack as the official show, which is most of the actors from Deep Space Nine. So Max Grajenchik, who plays Ron,
Casey Biggs.
Yeah, Casey Biggs, who plays Damar, Vaughn Armstrong, who plays all sorts of characters, but most notably Admiral Forrest in Enterprise, and then obviously Jeffrey Combs, who plays everybody. So they all play like big band Rat Pack music, very popular. It's not my cup of tea, that musical genre. So that was another show that I passed on. And again, just because we, in our little family, have so much fun out there on the promenade and in the bars, dressing up. And as you can see, the dress theme for the evening was Knights of the Holodeck. And this theme night, interestingly, was voted for in advance of the cruise by people who were going on the cruise. So ECP, the organizers, gave us a list of options and said, what would you like as one of the theme nights? And this got the most votes. At the time, I wasn't too keen on it because I thought, oh, what are we going to do? But looking back, I think it was one of my favorite outfits, this dressing up. I got to don my English flag and be St. George for the evening. And Amy, you did a lovely Troy variant there.
Yes, I really, looking at that picture, I'm like, man, it's like flowing. I really enjoyed it. I was not excited, but yeah, having all of the nights, and very interestingly enough, listeners, the dress that I was wearing, I ordered off Amazon. And this is what can happen when you purchase things online. And Amazon is very well known. There were so many other maidens with my dress. So we were walking around, and this one lady is like, oh my gosh, that's another one. I was like, what? Oh yeah, we're wearing the same dress. We're chit-chatting. And she's like, you are the 8th person that she had seen. And I was like, what? So she's all, I don you number 8. So then I'm walking around. I see another person, happened to be Aaron McDonald, wearing my same dress. I'm like, Aaron, so you are number 9. As far as I know, at the end of the night, the highest number I got was 12. Crazy.
Wow. There was some fabulous, imaginative individual cosplays that I saw a lot of what you would know as traditional Starfleet uniforms, but just cut in a way that they were like a knight's outfit. So a little bit like the Janeway one in that artist's impression on the official photo. But yeah, some people really went to town. Mine and James's were also just off the rack from Amazon. I think they were rubies. So yeah, Christos, have you got any memories of day 3?
I just remember I made it down to the Knights of the Holodeck party down in Studio B, which is like a dance party with a live band. And I'm like, I have a lot of photos from that party down there, including I saw some amazing cosplay that night, including a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica. And I'm like, that was just a fun night. So I did Captain Pike again, Strange New Worlds. I did not try as hard to stress. There were nights I went full blown on, and there were nights I was like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to wear one of my Star Trek uniforms. So
yeah, and that's another good point to make. You see people in all of these groups who've never been on the cruise before panicking about what should I wear, how much money do they have to spend, and you get people who attend all of the theme nights just in their shorts and t-shirts, regular clothes. People in Star Trek uniforms traditionally, or the actual cosplay that might have included a lot of work and preparation and making, or something cheap and off the rack. So really anything goes. You wear what you feel comfortable with on any of the theme nights and just really, really enjoy yourself. So we left Cabo, and what was next? Okay, ooh, crowd pleaser. So day 4 was another port day. We went on to Mazatlan. I think we'd all decided in advance, hadn't we, that we were going to remain on the ship for Mazatlan and have a pool day. Yeah. So we made plans to do a pool party day at Mazatlan. So Christos, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we back it up. We had a group outfit planned for the pool, the embarkation party that we did not get to use because it required it to be very warm outside, in which it was not. And so since we did not get off the boat at Mazatlan, we pulled all that out and decided to do that at the pool on that day. And it was great. We did Starfleet cutoff shirts and Speedos for the most part. And it was really great. Anytime you get a chance, if you're ever thinking about coming on the cruise, anytime you get a chance to do group cosplay of any kind, it always just amplifies it like tenfold. And it's just a lot more fun. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with that.
Absolutely. And when you have such I think there was about 12 of us all together who participated. When you have a group of people come over to you, everyone wants a photograph. And I think you managed to get a couple of the celebrities to come and have photographs with us, didn't you, Christos?
Yes, I grabbed Aaron McDonald and said, "Hey, would you mind doing this?" She's like, "No, I want to do this." And I believe Tracy Coco jumped in there with us. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sandra, who is another one of the Beverly Crusher fans out there, who I only had known through Twitter. And she was on the cruise, and she came up and took some pictures. So hey, shout out to Sandra.
Fantastic. The theme of the night, as you can see there, was the Trekking Dead. Now, this was one of the nights where I'm not really into zombies and that genre. It just doesn't do it. There was some fantastic cosplay. There was they decked out the promenade and called it the Scare Zone, and they had like lots of, I suppose, actors is the word, but people dressed up, and they would come at you. And usually I would find those things just a little bit naff, but it was really good. It was great fun. just walking through the area where the shops were and having all of these people come chasing you. But as you can see, Christos and I decided to don the good old TNG scants on this evening. And again, love wearing the scants. It's my favorite uniform. Great at conventions. And again, anytime you can get more people wearing them, they're a bit of a crowd pleaser. They go down the treat.
Yeah.
Amy, what else did we do that day?
Well, one of the actor hosted events was wine tasting with Terry Farrell, and Christos and I were lucky enough to attend. And it really is luck, because trying to order these events is insane.
They're in demand.
Seriously. But we got there with quite a big group of us, and we were first in line. We were right there front and center. Terry even took a picture and tweeted it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there we all are. We're just right there. And they had on that one, it was 5 different wines. They had 3 whites and 2 reds. Or was it 6?
It was 7.
No,
we even had a sparkling. Oh yeah, I'm looking at a picture on my plate.
Okay, all right, good job. Then yes.
That's why we take pictures, everybody.
Yes.
But we had a good
lot
group
of
of people too.
Yeah, but the interaction, and she's just talking with us, and she, even had us, if we wanted to ask questions. So yeah, it was just really wonderful. What about you, Christos?
It was my first time doing one of these events. I was not fortunate enough to do any of those last year. So the fact that Christian Carter was able to come, and Ron and Ben and Natalie, we were just having fun in our own group. And there was a couple of times I had to remind myself that Terry Farrell was 20 feet away from us and doing this, because we were just having so much fun on our own. But it's really, 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 they're magnificent experiences if you're lucky enough to get one.
Absolutely. I imagine it's quite difficult to remember what wine 5 and wine 6 tasted like if you were necking them so much. But what's the format? How intimate are these events? How much access do you get to the actors? Do you feel that, because they come at a premium price? So do you feel that you've had that time with Terry Farrell?
Sort of. If we weren't at the front, I would have felt that it wasn't a good experience. She does. So it's in the main dining room on the top level. And so she's on where the stairs come down. She's on this elevated staircase. And so she's like up there. And then you have, I don't know, a good 25, 30 tables that are there. And so if you're not in the front, I could feel that you might be disconnected and just like sort of watching from afar. But if you get in the front, then she's like looking at you, and you're smiling and cheering, and like she's interacting with you. So that would be my tip, which we can thank Ben and Ronnie for, because they're like, go an hour before, it's going to fill up, it'll be worth it. And we did both times, and it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It felt like at many times like Terry was looking right at us and looking for our opinions on the wine, and we were having some good interactions with the cruise director, who was also co-hosting the event, and it felt very exclusive being in the front. So it's a good tip. Don't give away all of our secrets, Amy.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to queue for 90 minutes next year now. You've done it. You've given away the secret. Okay, so day 5, the final of our port days. Where were we on day 5? We were in the lovely Porto Velata. So, Christos, why don't you tell us, because you were the official excursion on this day?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of an aficionado when it comes to PV or Puerto Vallarta. I've been down there about 4 times now, for at least a week at a time, and know my way around very well. It's a great place. There's an area of Puerto Vallarta called Zona Romantica, which is very, very, very gay friendly. There's a lot of there's a lot of shops and restaurants and bars and beach bars, and it's just a great way to spend a week. So we had a day, so we were going to make our best of it. So we got off the ship. There were about 10 of us, and we were very fortunate to just be able to find a big van for hire, and we all piled in. And in about 25-minute drive, we were at in that Zona Romantica. And we went down to a place called Ritmos, which is just a big beach bar. And it's right in the sand. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see some pictures from there. Just a bunch of umbrellas and beach chairs. We were right on the ocean. And we spent about 3.5 hours down there. And I will tell people it is very cheap to drink and eat in Mexico. We spent a good time there. Everybody had lunch at this place. Everybody had drink after drink after drink. And I went to pay the bill when we were done. And it was like, oh my God, it's like 7,000, like 6,000 pesos or something. And people were freaking out. But when I ran my credit card, it was $291 for all of that. So,
Wow.
And then when you split that 10 ways, it gets very affordable fast. And we walked around Puerto Vallarta a little bit, hit some of the shops. Amy and I went to we pulled away for just a little bit and went to a favorite place of mine to get a good vegan meal that I'm happy about, that I go to almost every day when I'm vacationing down there. So I got my little fill there, and we hit a little, we've talked about Matt. Matt Harker, one of our patrons on VP for What's the TBEV and BQN, and what else did he do? Tretzper Quiz, one of our patrons. He was down there on vacation, so he actually took a time out from his friends and came and saw us, and we got to meet somebody, who is a patron of the network. So that was awesome. But it was a lot of fun. It was quick. And then our van driver came right back to where he dropped us off. He had given us his phone number, so we just said, "Come get us," and he had us back to the ship very safely.
So we have a question from yes, a viewer. Hello. Is everything walking distance from the boat, or how do you get around for the most part during your city excursions?
Let's see here. I would say there's multiple answers to that depending on the port that you're in. In the case of Puerto Vallarta, they had some tourist, I don't want to say tourist trap, but they had some vendors that were inside the port, set up. So if you just wanted to walk off and do a little bit of shopping, buy the t-shirt, buy a bottle of tequila, get back on the boat, you could have easily have done that. Mm-hmm. But you did need to either A, take one of the excursions with the cruise ship, or B, book your own thing. Like I said, having been to Puerto Vallarta several times, it was very, very easy for me to know what to do. And that was why I wanted to take as many people as I could and just be their tour guide for the day. I believe in the other cities, there was a little bit more that you could just wander off on foot and and see more.
Yeah, because we wanted to go to this specific beach, then we did a little taxi, shuttle. Yeah. And they're easy to grab just off the street.
And I believe it was the only time during our 7 days being gone that we got to get our feet in the sand. So it was well worth it. And Amy, you had a very, very fun first time experience. Why don't you tell us about that?
I did. So so excited. Went parasailing. Oh my gosh. And Vince went with me too. So we went down and we went just on the beach. And they're like, "Come on, who's next? Who's next?" And so we're like, okay. So Vince was brave and he went up first. And you are standing on the beach. I didn't touch the water at once. And they get you all strapped in and they billow up the parachute and the wind comes and then you just literally lift up. And I was up so high. Hold on, I got a cough. Excuse me.
She's getting so excited.
I know. And
We're like, there
so
goes
I'm
Amy.
out there, I'm like holding my arms out. I'm flying. It was the best feeling. And then I look down at everyone, and everyone's all waving to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the best experience ever. And they just go around 15 minutes max, maybe 20. And then they have you come down, and you like pull on the string, and you just land right on the sand. I didn't touch the water at all. We have another comment. Parasailing is fun. When I was younger, I did it over Lake Tahoe, and the water is just so clear. Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
seeing the the different shades of blue, just wonderful, beautiful.
Yeah. It was a fun day. I felt like I was a little bit of a I felt like Mama Bear on this little excursion because I had 10 of us, and I'm like, nobody can get hurt. No, like there's things you have to think about when you're on a cruise, let alone in a foreign nation. Like medical care is exponentially expensive. So I see Amy going up in a on a parasail. I'm like, oh, she better not get hurt. and I think Christian broke his toe while we were there that day too.
You're joking? I didn't know that.
Yeah, poor thing. But he was able to get through the rest of the cruise okay. But I have a feeling he's probably paying for it now.
Oh, I suppose the main thing you've got to be aware of on a port day as well is what time you need to be back on the ship. These are daytime visits. There's no overnighters. I think one of the later sailaways is 7 p.m., but it's not uncommon that they'll be saying be back on board for 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So any kind of excursion or how far you travel into your destination, you've got to make sure you're back on time, because without sounding cruel, they won't wait for you. And I don't know if this was verified, but apparently there were 2 people who didn't make it back to the ship on day 5 in Puerto Vallarta. So the ship left without them. And this is the final stop. The next stop after this is back to California, to Long Beach. So that's it. Holiday's over. But it is great. It really mixes up. And this is your more traditional vacation, sightseeing, really getting the most of a cruise. Meanwhile,
one more thing with that timetable, like you've got to be on ship's time. And like we were, going through different time zones. So every time it's like we're losing an hour. And so, you definitely have to be very aware of what time it is. Like I wasn't on the Wi-Fi package, so my phone wasn't changing because I had it on airplane mode. So it was, I made sure that I was around people that knew exactly what was going on. That's my tip.
Yeah, we had to be back on, I think, final call was 6:30 p.m. that night, and we were back safely just after 5 p.m. You definitely have to have that lower decks buffer time going on. You do not want to get left behind on a cruise. In fact, that was just something that's always in my mind. I mean, it actually makes you a little bit nervous if you have anxiety type things.
Meanwhile, back on the ship, unfortunately, this was the day I was feeling quite tired and I wasn't really up for going off. So on one of the port days, the ships do tend to empty out. And with that brings a fantastic opportunity, if you stay on board the ship, to explore. So this was the day where we went to like the museum, saw some of the other sites, did some sunbathing. My partner James finally got to read a book because there's not that many people talking with you. But yeah, the museum on board had all of the uniforms from Picard season 3 and a lot of the props, and you really get to go right up to them and see them in great detail. And there's great explanations and banners and descriptions. And for those people who have been saying, why are all of the uniforms so custom and unique for all of these legacy characters in Picard season 3, they actually did a bit of an explanation for them all of, Riker's is a special uniform for a captain who's still in service but doesn't have a command of his own, and and Beverly's is still supposed to look medical, but it's not Starfleet medical. And so did you guys manage to
blue
the museum?
Oh, I loved the museum. They even had a working model with lights of the Titan. So I I took a lot of pictures of that, and just I love that ship. But yeah, I love the descriptions on the outfits that you would tell you that, hey, we purposely made Beverly's jacket blue because we wanted to call back to her Starfleet uniform and just kind of have you think of her that way. And I will tell you, I was most impressed with Vadic's outfit and Worf's and Rafi's. I just thought they were so intricate and so beautiful. And although I've now watched Picard on my big 75-inch TV at home, it's still, when you walk up to these uniforms and see them, they're just gorgeous.
Absolutely. Okay, so the official program for the evening, this was the Robert Picardo Glory Days night, which is lots of singing, lots of little acting bits. But the theme night for the night, I was going to say the night out, but you know what I mean. The theme night was the Bajoran Gratitude Festival. So this was very fragmented, all of the ships in lots of the different rooms, but this really made use of the pool deck as well. We had Nana Visitor open the Gratitude Festival in the same way that she does in the DS9 episode Fascination. And there was lots of different cosplay for this. Lots of Bajorans. They have a makeup artist actually on board who will make you up from anything from a Romulan to an Andorian. So there was lots of requests for Bajoran noses this night. Lots of people with Bajoran com badges, Bajoran earrings. And yeah, lots and lots of different cosplay. Amy, what was your cosplay on this evening?
Well, a couple of us got together who are no longer practicing Mormons, and it was so much fun. You have to know that to appreciate. So we were like dressed in Mormon missionary attire, and we had our little name badges, Sister Amy. But we were, here I have my card, the Cult of the Pa Wraith of the Latter Days. So funny. We had these cards that we got to pass out, and it's just hilarious if you know anything about the Mormon faith and that. So that was really fun. And I also appreciated that they had that where you burn, you write, it's your scroll. What is that called? The burning of the renewal scrolls.
Yeah, so I think that's a real tradition, but it became part of the Bajoran mythicism of the episode Fascination. So you write down something on a piece of paper, and then you put it into the fire and burn it, and that's your renewal scroll. Now, health and safety notification. It wasn't a real fire. They had this on deck 5 on the promenade, and it was a light effect, a little bit of paper. So for all those thinking, my God, they had a fire on a cruise ship. No, it's fine. It was safe. Yeah. But that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, and I believe that was the night that Denise had her improv session down in. I was looking at I have my little. Everybody, if you're watching, you get a little thing put on your bed every night for the next day, and it tells you what to do the next day, and really helps you with your schedule. But 2 nights in a row, I'll talk about. We didn't mention what was on day 4's entertainment, and day 5 very similar in effect. On day 4, they did, Jonathan Frakes led a rereading of a script from the original series and casted people that were on the boat. So, for example, in this TOS episode on day 4 that they did, Marina Sirtis played the role of Scotty, which was hilarious. And then, so that's just a recreation, word for word, of a script with a little bit of improv here and there. On day 5, on the Bajoran night, Denise Crosby is kind of later at night. She has a complete improv where they play an episode and they assign the roles to people, but they literally make up the dialogue as they go. There is no dialogue being played from the episode. It's all the actors making up things. And I will tell you that Todd Stashwick and Tawny Newsome stole the show. Those two have some twisted minds, and I was here for it.
Yeah, 100%. Tawny actually only arrived on day 5. She only boarded the ship in Puerto Vallarta. And for those 3 days, oh my God, she gave such value. She was at the heart of all of the events. She was so accessible to the fans. She was a real favorite, as was Todd. Yeah, the episode that Denise, this is kind of like Denise's event. It's just evolved every year and become a fan favorite, not to be missed. It tends to be an original series episode that they choose, because if you chose a later episode, you've got most of the actors there that could play themselves, and it's just a little bit more fun to kind of ham fist improv with a 60s episode. It's pure filth. It's absolute bedlam, and the actors don't know what the episode is before Denise announces it to them at the same time as us. So they chose the original series, The Savage Curtain, which is the episode that has kind of Abraham Lincoln and Genghis Khan and Kahless and Surak and the landing party have to battle. And there's the character Yarnek, which is a very unfortunate like rock character. And a little phrase was born of when they throw the rocks. Tawny was saying, "Yay, rocks of encouragement," and that kind of just stuck all week. Every time someone he would say, "Yeah, I'm throwing rocks of encouragement your way." It was so good. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good time.
Okay, so what did day 6 bring? So we're back at sea now. So this was quite a turning point, quite literally, because we're on our way back now. So all day 6 and day 7 were both sea days. We've had all of our shore excursions. We're now on the slow return to California. So this was a totally at sea day. We had some great events running on this day. So the sea days are where you tend to get the artist events. So I believe you two both hit the wine bottle again, didn't you, for another artist event on day 6?
Well, yes. This was the one thing that I had to have. And I, again, very fortunate to have obtained the wine tasting with Marina Sirtis. Oh my gosh. And we were there right in line.
Yeah.
We were number 1. We got there center. Oh my gosh. The time with her, she is just so brilliant. And one thing that I really do want to point out, like, I love Nana Visitor and like Terry Farrell, because they are relating Star Trek to the bigger picture of what do we see in life. Marina is just so sassy that she doesn't ever really get that deep and that philosophical, but she did here. And it just really warmed my heart. I'm going to start crying because she is so outspoken, and she will stand up, and that's sort of her philosophy of you need to speak up and not let bullies continue bullying people. And I could definitely see that. And she is fearless. She will talk to anyone, and if you're in the wrong, if you're being mean, then she's going to call you out on it. And I just was that's what I learned about her this trip, and it just makes me love her even more. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we had
There
a
was
blast.
There was a lot of Marina being Marina all week, quite frankly, and she's hilarious. She just really holds no bars. And Amy, I believe you stole the most of an opportunity after this session, didn't you?
No.
Tell us about that when you saw Marina sat there and you went over for a little chat.
Well, we did get our photo with Marina, Christos and I. Thank you, Christos. And so, but he got a photo op with us two, and then he was getting one by himself. And so after we had done our photo, there was no one behind us. And so Marina walked over and sat down, and I'm like, hello, this is a missed opportunity. So I like dart over there, like trying to make sure no one's gonna, excuse me, miss, get back in line. So I go over and sit down and just was talking to her. And then, yes, someone came over. It's like, okay, I need to go. But just those rare moments. And listeners, I don't speak well to actors. I wasn't as tongue-tied, but I was shaking in my boots.
I was proud of you. You like literally said, you were like, boom, gone. Like, I was like, oh, there she goes. And then I'm sitting there with my phone, like, I'm going to take some pictures of this and hope I don't get in trouble. But I got just the right candid picture to prove that it happened. But
yes.
It was great. And the following day, the morning before the wine tasting, I had an autograph. So I was getting my photo autographed with Marina. And when she learned my name, we started talking, and she postulated that our families are from the same island in Greece, and where we have the same family surnames way back when, and that we may be related. So that was just enough to make me, even just the possibility was just wonderful. But cut to the wine tasting, she kept calling me out by first name, and that just made my cruise.
Oh,
Yes.
how lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
It's worth pointing out as well that, like a regular convention, you've got your photo ops, your autograph sessions that need to be purchased, they're ticketed. So the actors are under all this pressure to not have kind of informal photographs taken with people. They're not allowed because clearly no one would buy the official ones. So Marina was very clear at the start of when in the welcome party where she said, "Don't ask me for a photo because you won't get one." And that was like the actual main unofficial one that you got, Amy. But yeah, little sniper picture there from Christos. I don't know if Marina was welcome, but you can see some of the actors towards the end of the week. I know Nicole de Boer, Chase Masterton, Tawny Newsome. They were all more than happy to break the rules, and there's lots of pictures of them with the fans, usually quite late into the evening. They like a drink as much as we do, the actors, so they tend to mix, let the guard down a little bit, and you can get a picture then if you're feeling brave. Okay, so on day 6, this was before we go on to the theme, I didn't go to wine tasting with Marina because it clashed with another artist event that I really wanted to attend. And this was the Tawny Newsome hosted event, which was a illustration class. So they had, bless her, I can't remember her actual name, but one of the official illustrators on Lower Decks was talking us through how to draw. And it was called Sip and Draw. So you sit there, they give you a clipboard, a full load of crayons and pencils, and a drink, and a lovely lovely martini, I seem to remember. And you draw pictures, and Tawny would walk around with the microphone and comment on your picture, and you could ask questions of the artist and have you any hints and tips. And it was all very digitally done these days. So there was lots of inside information on what it's like drawing Lower Decks. Now, the fun thing of that event was Tawny says she gets herself into trouble for spoilers and saying things, and the details of the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover is such a tightly guarded secret. And she kept going to say things, and her producer was on board at the back of the room, and he kept shouting from the back saying, "You're not allowed to say that. You can't say that." So she kept getting in trouble for nearly leaking spoilers. But she'd tell us lots of stories about what it's like doing voice recording, and it was very accessible. Usually the events with Q&As involved are in the main theatre with thousands of people. At these events, there might be 50 to 100 people there. So if you want to ask a question, if you want to get your hand up, you're more likely to be chosen. And it just makes the actors a little bit more accessible in these events. So me and James really enjoyed that event. And the theme night, the final theme night of the cruise. Sorry,
Kelvin.
Amy.
Yeah. There was one more actor event that I went to.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes. And this one I felt was very worth the money because the interaction that I got with Jess Bush and Sarah Middich was amazing. So they had this thing, crazy enough, where you would decorate a Christmas stocking. So when we walked in, they had, I'm going to say 12 tables with a red Christmas stocking, one of those velvet one thingies, and then a whole bunch of decorations on the table with some glue and puff paint and stuff like that. So again, I was there very early, so I was on the front table, and Rob Perlman created the Star Trek Christmas book. So it was with Rob Perlman, Sarah Middich, and Jess Bush. And they were just walking around. Jess Bush was talking to us, what are your Christmas traditions? And telling us hers, what she does, down in Australia. And we were sharing with hers. And Sarah Middich I was asking her what her upcoming projects are, and she really couldn't say something. So something's coming out pretty soon. But to have that interaction, and then each person on the table got to read a page in Rob Perlman's book, and they got a little pin for doing so. It just very interactive. I really liked that one.
Fantastic. So we had John Delancey's Lost World as the official show for the evening, which was not a comedy event. It was a play that he's written, and a lot of the actors were there reading different parts. It's not Star Trek. So you have that in the evening show, and then it's Q's Costume Party, which is a regular event on the cruise. It's usually the final night, and this is crazy. You see anything and everything. Things that stood out for me was lots of people dressed as Super Mario characters. There's a lot of outside of genre generic stuff. I think the people who won, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were dressed as Hawkeye, not Hawkeye, Hawkman from Marvel.
DC.
Is it DC? Oh God, terrible. Thank you.
Their wings expanded and retracted.
Who
it was amazing.
Who brings that on a cruise ship?
Yeah, how do you get these outfits aboard? I certainly wouldn't get it through custom going into the UK.
Remember all the big furries? I mean, there were furries every night, and these are humongous heads that don't collapse. I don't understand how people travel that way.
Who knows? But this was the event that, Amy, you were very keen for us to do. Again, group cosplay here. And this is something that a group of us kind of decided we were going to do in advance of the cruise. So we brought the right outfits. So why don't you tell us about what the photo is that we're looking at here on the slide? What was our group Q's costume party?
Well, that would be Troy and 1,000 Rikers. And since I seem to hang out with all you men, I thought how great to have all these different Rikers represented. So we have Captain Riker, season 6 Riker. We have Thomas and Will Riker. We have Picard Riker. We have even Odan Riker from The Hosts. And we have Chef Riker. It was so much fun. I loved it.
It was great. StarTrek.com even interviewed us because we had such a good group outfit going.
That's right. They did.
Great fun. And then day 6 ended with a very special treat for us in that we got to see the next episode of Picard. But before we move on to that, we've just got a question here saying, can you talk about the atmosphere of watching the brand new Star Trek episode with a room of Trekkies? And Stashwick introduced the episode, which seemed cool. Oh, great timing. Wonderful.
So I'm going to back up to Todd Stashwick and kind of hopefully bring that in there. I had several chances to talk to Todd Stashwick throughout the cruise because he's just so cool and would walk around and talk to the fans. So that was amazing that he did that. But it was really quick to know that he's definitely a huge Star Trek fan. In fact, he shocked me when he rolled up his sleeve and showed me his Star Trek tattoo, the comm badge and 4 Captain Pips and a silhouette of the Titan. So I was like, okay, you're legit. He really does appreciate the fandom, the Star Trek world in itself, and is appreciative of the fact that he is now on a Star Trek series and what that means probably for the rest of his life, how that works once you're on. But he came out and introduced the new episode of the week. It is pretty incredible to be in a room full of, about at least 1,000 Trekkies watching a brand new, never before seen episode of Star Trek, especially this particular episode. We did get to see the premiere of Picard last year and an episode of Discovery, but to be watching this particular season that has been so good and was so anticipated, it was kind of nuts. In fact, as much as I enjoyed watching it, I couldn't wait to get home and rewatch it because there was some cheering and hollering and things, and it could be a bit a bit distracting. But I can tell you, I remember falling asleep during an episode last year because I had just had too much of everything, because they did the episode at 11:30 p.m., folks. This is not like a 7 p.m. thing, 11:30. And I was wide awake. I'm like, all right. I was warned that this big Jean-Luc Beverly scene was coming and that I needed to be on my best behavior. So I was all about it. And yeah, what a great experience, especially to have it introduced. Amy, what did you think of the episode this week?
You know, it was so late at night. And listeners, if you go on the cruise, you must know that these places are freezing cold. And I complain about it at STLV. I know it's a me thing, but it was so cold. And I have my shawl wrapped around me that looks like a holodeck, by the way. And I'm in my Troy, so I've got like shoes and socks, and I was freezing cold. And when I rewatched the episode, I was like, oh, this is where I fell asleep. I fell asleep right at the half moment because I was just freezing cold, and I just curled up and I was gone. It was too much alcohol, too much fun, and too cold for me. But what I love about it is that feeling that you're watching with all of these fans. And yeah, Todd did a great job introducing. He's so funny and he's so humble, but he's so quick-witted also. So watching with your Trek family, yes, you get the woohoo and the whoops and wallers, and you're like, I'm trying to listen. But what a feeling it is. It's very unique.
Fantastic. Thanks, Amy. So the episode itself was episode 3, 17 seconds. What were some of the highlights? As you said, there's lots of whooping and gasping. Christos, how did you feel about, on the this was the first new episode that you've had a long wait for this episode, because you saw the first 2 episodes at the premiere, then had to wait several weeks. So you've now caught up with us mere mortals. Was that anticipated exchange between Beverly and Jean-Luc everything you wanted it to be? How did you find it?
Well, first off, it was very powerful. In fact, it was so well acted. There's so much nuance in the scene, but it was the explanation we've been waiting for. And it was funny to hear Beverly's reasoning, to be able to come to the conclusion that, in my opinion, she wasn't right, but I understood her, and kind of leave it at that for me. But there was so much in that scene, and then so much in the episode. I did want to say I noticed with Beverly, as this episode progressed, first she had just her outfit on, then she had her outfit with a comm badge, and by the end of the episode, when she's taking care of Captain Shaw, she had a blue jacket and her comm badge on, and I was like, she's slowly turning back into Starfleet Beverly as this episode. I don't know if you just really had to watch, and with it being so dark, it was even hard to tell toward the end that she was wearing a dark navy blue doctor's jacket. But it was like, she's turning back into Beverly Crusher.
Love it. And Amy, you had a long-awaited person have a little scene in this episode. So what did you make of the little Marina moment that we saw?
Yes, that was really wonderful. And I'm sure we're going to get her introduction, a full episode with her in it, not just complaining about taking care of the baby. But I want to go back and talk about the Beverly and Picard and deciding, was she right to not tell Jean-Luc, or was she wrong? And my goodness, leave it to the writers to give us another Tuvix moment.
Yeah.
You can't say one's right and one's wrong. You cannot. I mean, that line that she says, I knew that I could protect my son, but I couldn't protect your son. Oh my gosh, what a line. But he has a right to know. But she's oh my gosh. Yeah, that is the Tuvix moment. That I'll argue either way. If you say one's right, no, you're wrong. If you say the other one's right, no, you're wrong. It's a great moment and discussion to have.
And thank God they did, because we can't vilify one of our favorite characters for doing something that in the real world is very much frowned upon. I think they did a good job of making it complex enough that you could see both points of view. A highlight of the episode for me, and some people may not expect me to say this, but I really, really love what they've done to Worf in this. Not my favorite character in all of Star Trek, but this was the big return of Worf episode. Much like what the writers have done with Riker and the humor, they've also done this with Worf, and the delivery of some of the lines from Michael Dorn with the whole, I am Worf, son of Morg, slayer of Gowron. Would you like a cup of tea? I just thought, really, it wasn't forced, like cheesy funny. It was just funny. And you've got a great actor playing opposite a great actress with Michelle Hurd. And yeah, in the first 2 episodes, on all the scenes where they kind of cut to Raffi, it would kind of take me away from the main action. I wanted to be on the Titan. Whereas this episode, I was just as interested to see the Worf and Raffi dynamic. And then ultimately we end the episode with the big revelation of the Changelings are back from Deep Space Nine and the Dominion War, which is mind-blowing. I'm not jaded, but we've all guessed a lot of the reveals. We guessed that Picard was the dad. We guessed that Worf was the handler. All these things were confirmed, but we kind of knew it. I did not see this coming. This is, Star Trek Picard for me now is just as much a DS9 continuation as it is TNG. We've already got 7 of 9 featuring so heavily. So, yes, this kind of post-Dominion War is amazing. SJ Sharks Fan 39 says, this is the highlight of the episode for me. Post-Dominion War stuff that I've been waiting for since 1999. Thanks for your comment. I couldn't agree more. I was delighted.
Yes, this is Greg Malumbi. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would just one last thing on that was I loved when Worf introduced himself. I got Loxwana Troy vibes, like the way she would, daughter, the 5th house of Beta Z, the secret holder of the chalice. I was like, oh, yeah, there's a little bit of Loxwana going on there.
Yeah. Someone's put a meme out about that long speech that it says, I'm Worf, son of Morg, member of the House of Martok, son of Sergei, slayer of Gowron, bane of the Duras family.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say father of Alexander. And then there's a picture of someone's put Raffi saying father of Alexander, and Worf just saying who?
Love it.
Who dat?
Yeah, love it. Anyway, so a fabulous episode. It left us all just wanting more, like every episode has so far. But for me, certainly, that was bedtime for the evening. I know other people went and continued the party up in the hot tubs and so on. But that was very much bedtime for me on day 6. So what was the last day? Day 7.
At sea.
Fabulous. So Christos, tell us, who's that very dashing Romulan we see in the picture?
Well, I'd been trying to get this done the whole cruise, so I had to take day 7 to get it done, which is a little anticlimactic, I felt at the end, but I had a chance to sit with some of the makeup artists. A gentleman by the name of Thomas did my makeup in full Romulan gear. He actually worked on TNG, DS9, Voyager, and whatnot, and then some doing makeup. So having my makeup done by a pro was pretty amazing. But yes, he converted me into a Romulan for the day, and it was fun walking around as a Romulan. Some people recognized me right away, and other people were standing right next to me and didn't know it was me, which I don't know. I thought that was a little much, but it was great. I felt very different, very empowered. It provided me a few opportunities, like dancing with Tawny Newsome, because she thought it was cool. She was dancing with a Romulan, and getting to be Tasha Yar's security for a hot minute too.
Oh, nice.
Or Sila's, I should say. Yes, I got to. Denise wanted out of a bar, and she's like, "Get me downstairs," and I took her hand and we went.
So that kind of leads us on to, there's all of these events that take place, and some of them seem to be more official than others. We mentioned about the improv becoming a fan favorite, but Tawny Newsome just decided she wanted to throw a Beyonce party. So one of the kind of disco, one of the bars up on deck 14, Tawny basically played the new Beyonce album from track 1 to the end, and she stood there on the dance floor with a microphone, surrounded by, well, it was the gays mostly, but it was a lot of the Trekkies, and she just danced the night away with us. And there was like no security, there's no concerns. People would go up to her. We had Ciroc Lofton turned up at some point. Nicole DeBurr was there, and sat at the bar pounding the drinks was Denise Crosby, as per usual, as we love her for it, with Christos there chatting with her. And at one point, Tawny Newsome shouted on the microphone, "Denise Crosby, get your effing butt on this dance floor or I'm going to feed you to Armus." And it was just one of the standout moments for me. Denise came over, had a dance, and that's when, Christos, I believe you had to escort her from one party to, was it the karaoke event? That was
she
also
wanted to go
place.
crash Connor Trinneer's karaoke. So yes, we grabbed her and got her down and across the ship, because it was literally the other side of the ship and down 7 decks. Anyways, so we got her there and got her on her way after a while, but it felt kind of like fun to be like her handler for about half hour, 45 minutes.
Such a good event. That was possibly one of my highlights for the cruise, considering it was the last day, the last evening. There was no official theme night on night 7 because they kind of like to get you to bed relatively early, but it was such a winner. Earlier on in that day, I did one of the artist events. I did the tequila tasting with, again, Denise. Sorry, Denise, we're not painting you to be a very sober person here, are we? It was with Denise and Nana Visitor. And there were 4 different tequilas, and they're all passed around, and then they talk about it. Again, great opportunities to ask questions because it's a more intimate group. This one did feel quite intimate. Denise and Nana were moving around all the tables, talking to people. They had a lot of questions themselves that they would ask us. And they had a member of the crew from the ship, and it was just basically one of the random bar staff from the tiki bar, and they introduced this poor guy as a tequila expert, and there was no way he was a tequila expert. He was just a barman who knows kind of, you put a tequila into a margarita. So Nana is famously into her cocktails, her spirits, very passionate. So she was asking him all these questions about, what the agave and mezcal, and the poor guy, he just was a fish out of water. He couldn't answer, but it was a great event, and that was quite early on in the day. So to be having 4 tequilas in 30 minutes and then have to go off, I'm not surprised Denise was the way she was come the Beyonce party in the end of the night. So that was day 7. Then the cruise ended with a little bit of a variety performance with some dancing, some jokes, and then we were all encouraged to go to bed. While the set dressers come out, rip down all of the Trek themed merchandising and redress the ship for the week after's cruise, which was an 80s themed cruise, also run by ECP. But yeah, when you kind of see your things being ripped down, it really makes you think it's over now. We're done, and it's quite sad by this point. How did you guys feel seeing the Tribbles bar being turned into a Gremlins bar?
We've seen it before, and it is sad. But my goodness, it was a long week.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that by the time, I've noticed this both years in a row I've been on, when it's over, I'm kind of okay with it being over. Not that I'm very sad to see my friends leaving and parting ways, but I'm actually like, I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go home, get some sleep, and I got home about 11 o'clock a.m. on Friday, and I've been recovering ever since. Just trying to, just casually getting sleep and unpacking and all that. But it's a fun 7-day cruise. The people make it. But yes, when it's over, you're kind of okay with it being over. It's just you need the rest. It's like you need the rest, so you're okay with it being over.
Fantastic. So, for anyone who's thinking of going on the cruise next year, I hope we've sufficiently whet your appetite, sold it to you. We're not on commission, but I think, well, certainly you and I, Christos, we've signed up for next year. So anyone who goes, we'll see you there. Where are you at, Amy? Are you tempted for 2024? Can we convince you?
Well, as I kept saying this trip, I wasn't supposed to be on this trip. I didn't sign up last cruise, but yet there I was on the ship enjoying the cruise. I did not sign up again. This will have been my third consecutive cruise. That's a lot. So I'm tending more no. But then when you hear of all of our Trek family who's going to be there, it is so tempting. So I'm going to say what the future holds. We shall see.
Ooh, cliffhanger.
Good.
Let's leave it there.
I mean, I'm definitely in there because the Crusher family reunion will be happening on the next cruise with Gates McFadden, Will Wheaton, and new addition Ed Spilliers. So how could I miss that?
Indeed. And also as well, it's Sonequa is headlining next year. And we, live on the cruise, we got the notification about Discovery being cancelled. And Doug Jones was on the cruise too. And Doug confirmed that they only found out that morning themselves, the actors. They had a little bit of a Zoom call with the producers and they were told. And then Doug gave an interview with Connor Trenier, which was scheduled. It was always supposed to happen. But, you know, he shared his reaction to the news. And, you know, it was very dear to be present in that moment. He broke down. He started crying. He said what an honor it was to have these 5 seasons. But next year for the cruise, the final season of Discovery will have just started airing. So we'll see one of the final episodes. No doubt Sonequa and co will come out and introduce it. And that will be a very special moment to give it a send-off. The people who they advertise who's coming on the cruise, you know, sometimes people drop out because of filming commitments and other people get added. I suspect we'll get a lot of Discovery additions to next year's cruise, and it will be a big celebration of Discovery, as well as the aforementioned Crusher family reunion. So yeah, that's to me makes it something very special to look forward to kind of hold Discovery up and celebrate it rather than dwell on the fact it's been cancelled. Okay, so any final thoughts on the cruise? Anything we've not mentioned? Anything we want to say?
Well, Greg asked a question. Is there anyone I can talk to in regards to pricing? I would like to go, but it is really expensive. It is expensive. ECP does, however, have a payment plan. It's 0% interest. So you just pay a monthly, so you can divide it up over the year. And I know a lot of people have done that, and that was affordable for them. But yeah, it is expensive. You try and do all your, penny pinching by getting an interior cabin. If you can, don't get the Wi-Fi. It's actually fine to disconnect, in my opinion. And this is the first year that they had that the ship app that worked great. They had the ship app last year. It was terrible. You couldn't communicate. The app worked really well. You just need to make sure that anyone you want to talk to is going to use the app. That's the trick.
Yeah.
And then, if you don't get the drink package, that's another way to save money. So you can go, and they do break that down. But it is expensive. Not going to lie.
I found I saved money by getting the drinks package because I kind of did the math of how many drinks do I drink? Well, quite a lot. So if I was buying those individually, it would have been expensive. The drinks package saved us money. And as I like to remind my partner as well, when I was trying to convince him that it was a good idea to come, all of your food is included. So if you think of a traditional holiday where you've got your accommodation, your food, your entertainment, your drinks, it all adds up. So to see it as a big one-off payment is scary, but it's not that much different to a traditional holiday once you add in all of these extras. So I'd say if you're a diehard Trekkie and you want this immersive experience, it really is the pinnacle of kind of convention style events. There's nothing better. And just treat yourself. You're worth it. Okay, so back to traditional All Good Things format. Christos, why don't you tell us where we're going next week? What's next week's episode looking like?
Well, next week we'll be picking up our time travel series, part 5, TAS Yesteryear, and that would be the animated series.
Fantastic. Excellent. So we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts at allgoodpod. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. We've also partnered with our friends at the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching their master feed. So Christos, where can people find you when you are not being a treacherous Romulan running around the promenade?
You can find me on Facebook in the BQN Collective, Twitter and Instagram at GreekGeekSD, and on my other podcast, What's the T-Bev, which will be coming back for season 2 here, just in another week or two. So looking forward to starting up. I have a whole bunch of guests that are lined up to be on for season 2. And Amy, where can people find you when you don't have a gaggle of Rikers around you?
When does that not happen? Well, you can find me here on the network where I'm co-hosting Galaxy Class, which I know I haven't been on the past 2 episodes, but I promise I'm back. Vacation? Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going somewhere else. But hit and miss on Galaxy Class, also on Union Federation. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place right there, BQN Collective, our Facebook group. And Kelvin, where can people find you when you are... Ooh. Oh, man. See, why are we live? Listeners, we can usually cut this out. Oh, when you're not getting sloushed with Denise Crosby and tequila.
Ooh, lovely. When I'm not doing that, you can also find me in the BQN Collective Facebook group, where I'd love to chat with you. Or you can come directly to Instagram and Twitter, where you will find me at Kelvin's Timeline. Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. This helps others to find the show. You can follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching BQN. And this way you won't miss any of our fine shows like Union Federation and Galaxy Class, History with the Zalagis, Infinite Diversities, Mickey's Marvels, Sasquatch, What's the T-Bev, and Trexperts Quiz.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producers, Mahejan Radhakrishnan and Tim Cooper. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music and Mark White for our artwork each and every week.
If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings, the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion that happens every month, second Saturday. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you all for listening and watching.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things. Goodbye.
Bye.